We'll just do a quicker version here. Okay, so I'm securing the thread on the needle. What I could do, shorten that needle, it'll make it a little more rigid. And we get some calf tail for the tail. That tied down better already. That's where it slipped on me originally. Okay, so I've tied in the tail material. Come back to the foam, Evizote foam, again, that I've cut in a square. Secure that tail piece. So I move that thread underneath, forward underneath along the needle. Again, by adjusting the temperature, or the tension that I pull on the thread, I can create the segment.
Oh, it is a pretty hot fly.
Yeah. And just by having tied that last one and the way it came out, I'm actually going to be happy with these 3 segments here. The last one, because of being loose, is your most difficult. You're just trying not to tighten it very much. See, I'm just snugging that thread down a little bit, not very much. If I pull down tight, then I get it much small. I compress that foam, which I don't want to here. It's loose. It can come undone. It can break. But when we add a little glue, that'll eliminate all those problems. Now we slide it off the needle carefully. I'm holding all the materials fairly firm. Making sure your needle's clean, or a fairly new needle helps. And then again, we come underneath, pull that tag end of thread that we didn't trim off. You can see how far that went. That's how loose that would have been otherwise. But now I've just secured everything. I've locked in my thread wraps from the inside out. Trim that off. Now we'll get that glue, and I just put a little drop of glue on the back of each thread wrap to secure that. Now we'll get our hook. Thread on the hook, giving a thread base about 3/4 of the way down. And we're going to just lightly wrap that. Again, I don't want to compress the foam too much. Move forward underneath. Back that up by a loose wrap. Okay, there it is. Now I'm going to check the underneath on this one a little more. It was a little crooked there. I'm going to make a nice one this time. Nicer thread wraps. Now this one gets secured, and this is actually what's locking down the body. And like I said, I don't worry about that other foam. Just let it flop around, do whatever. It builds up the body a little bit and lock it in. Now I'm going to get my hackle. There's a shiny side and a dull side, and I want the dull side facing me. That way when I wrap the hackles and it's facing this way, the natural curve of that fiber is going towards the front of the fly. It stands up a little better. That's what you want to do for a dry fly hackle. It'll help float better. If you're doing a soft hackle or a wet fly sorts, you tie the shiny side forward, and that'll keep the hackles flowing backward. So now we're going to grab a couple of peacock curls. This is going to create the taper to the body and build that thorax, because if I just wrap that hackle now, it would have that very skinny thorax, and I want the proportions to be balanced correct. Okay, so was that counterclockwise? Duncan actually showed me this trick. I never learned that. And you can see as I'm doing that, and it actually hits pretty good from that video camera angle, that I'm keeping getting a nice taper in volume versus that foam. So just silhouette, like if you were looking at this purely as a silhouette or a shadow from underneath with the sun in the background, you're going to have a consistently shaped fly rather than something that's too skinny up front. And we'll just kind of make sure that that peacock's secured. Come back to the hackles. We're taking a different path there. These are dense ones. I'm going to get 3.5 wraps, and that thing is full. Oops. Trimmed out a little of my hackle on that. That's okay. That's where the wing will fill in anyway. And now we're going to get that widow's web again. The reason I use the widow's web on the bigger flies is it's just a little stiffer and it stands up a little more. You can use the poly. Originally my pattern called for that, but that was before I knew about widow's web. Okay, and I've prepared a bunch of that. A little extra. Thin that out. Now, like I said, I always tie this wing in extra long when I tie it because you're trimming it down, and it's easier to do that than it is to try to tie it in where you want. Fold this back out of the way after securing the material. A few wraps underneath. Finish the fly. Trim the thread. We trim the butt section of the wing equal to the hook eye length. That you can just hold it, slide the scissors in until they hit the eye, and snip. And that creates a little head there for the fly. Still got this giant hook sticking out of his butt, but it hides the hook eye a little bit. Trim it into the mayfly shape. Sometimes you get some straggler pieces that just don't want to blend in. You can just trim those off. It's no big deal. There we go. Now we're going to straighten that hackle out and trim underneath to about 120 degrees. I tie this in gray, green, brown, and that imitates from the green drake to the gray drake, brown drake, just bigger, any bigger mayfly, and this is what I'll use for my bigger mayflies.